Moonrise. Chapter 11. Only Love. We ran to the house in complete silence. Our hands were twined as we hurried through the trees to return home. It was almost noon, and we had been hunting for about 2 hours. Jasper wanted to make sure that he didn't make a mistake while Bella came to visit us today. I reassured him on several occasions that everything would be fine, but he insisted on taking precautions. We slowed to a walk as we entered the house, and I looked around for a moment. "Carlyle?" I breathed his name, knowing that he would hear me. Moments later, he appeared with Esme by his side. "Yes, Alice," he replied, giving me a warm smile. "I had a vision," I started. "There will be nomads coming through later today, possibly early morning. I haven't seen that they will bother us, but it is too soon to tell," I informed him. He looked at me for a moment and then sighed. "We will tell Edward when he gets here," he murmured, and looked at me once again for an answer. "In 23 minutes, answering his unspoken question. He smiled, as did Esme, and the two of them walked silently into the kitchen. I moved over to the staircase, and Jasper followed me. We breezed up the stairs and into our room. I released Jasper's hand and ghosted into the closet. "What should I wear?" I asked him. "Maybe something casual, or maybe something dressy since it's important. Oh, what about something—" Jasper's hand covered my mouth, and then I heard him chuckle. "I think what you have on is fine," he murmured, as he stroked his nose against my ear. "But I don't think so," I said with a frown. "Come on, this is super important for Edward," I told him. He sighed and turned to face me. "Don't overdo it, Alice," he mumbled as he rolled his eyes. "I won't, I promise," I said innocently. I stood in the middle of my closet for 13 seconds, and then walked over to pull out a new outfit I had recently bought. I smiled to myself and pulled my shirt over my head, replacing it with a new one. I paused, and then flitted over to Jasper with a shirt in my hand. "Here, put this on," I murmured to him. He laughed at me, but then took the shirt anyways. I slid the rest of my clothes on, and then looked in the mirror. "What do you think?" I asked, as I spun all the way around and looked at Jasper. He glided to my side and wrapped his arms around me. "Perfect as always, Alice," he reassured me. "Thanks," I murmured. I pulled away from him and took his hand. "Let's go. The car is turning onto the drive," I told him. He hesitated, and I turned to look at him. "What is it?" I asked him quietly. "Are you sure? I don't want to be the one to wreck this. I don't want to slip," he whispered. My eyes softened, and I pulled him towards our bed. I pushed against his chest so he would sit down, making us almost eye level. "Jazz, I would never lead you into something you couldn't handle. You must know that. I know that you can do this, but it's up to you on whether you will do it," I whispered as I ran my fingers down his cheek. "You need to have more faith in yourself. It will get you so much farther," I continued as I brought my face closer to his, our foreheads touching. "We don't have to go down there if you don't want to. It is up to you, Jasper," I told him quietly. "But you want to meet her. I can't take that opportunity away from you just because I'm weak," he whispered as he looked down. "You aren't weak, Jasper. You never will be. You're the strongest person I know," I said as I kissed him lightly on the lips. "Everything is not up to me, Jasper. We won't always do things my way," I told him. "But I want you to be happy," he sighed. "And I want you to be happy. We really don't have to. It will be fine," I reassured him. He stood then, and I looked up at him. No, I'm going to give you what you want this time. You're right. Everything will be fine, he said as he took my hand. He bent his head towards mine, and I stretched on my toes to kiss him. We walked out of our room as we heard Edward's familiar voice. "Where are Alice and Jasper?" he asked, and then we were at the staircase. "Hi, Edward," I chirped happily. I squeezed Jasper's hand, and he nudged me forward, knowing that I wanted to go. I bolted down the stairs. "Hi, Bella," I said, as I flashed by her side and gave her a peck on the cheek. "You do smell nice. I never noticed before," I said with a bright smile. Her face turned pink as I said this, and I took a step back, feeling a slight burn. "Hello, Bella," I heard Jasper say. I turned and saw that he was hesitating, not too far from Esme and Carlyle. "Hello, Jasper," she said with a shy smile, and then turned to the rest of us. "It's nice to meet you all. You have a very beautiful home," she added. "Thank you," Esme said. "We're so glad that you came." She spoke with feeling. Silence fell over us, and we all watched as Bella's eyes moved around the large room. Her brown eyes settled on the piano for a moment. "Do you play?" Esme asked, inclining her head toward the piano. Bella shook her head quickly. "No, not at all. But it's so beautiful. Is it yours?" "No," she laughed. "Edward didn't tell you he was musical?" "No," she answered, as she glared at Edward for a second. "I should have known, I guess." Esme raised a delicate eyebrow in confusion. "Edward can do everything, right?" Bella said. Jasper snickered, and Esme gave Edward a reproving look. "I hope you haven't been showing off. It's rude," she scolded. "Just a bit," he laughed. Her face softened at the sound and was replaced with a smile. "He's been too modest, actually," she corrected. "Well, play for her," Esme encouraged with a smile. "You just said showing off was rude," Edward objected. "There are exceptions to every rule," she replied with a shrug. "I'd like to hear you play," Bella volunteered. "It's settled, then." Esme pushed him toward the piano. He pulled Bella along, sitting her on the bench beside him. He looked at her for a moment, and then turned back to the keys. His fingers flowed swiftly across the ivory. He looked at her for a moment, and then turned to the keys. His fingers flowed swiftly across the ivory, and the room was filled with the composition that was Esme's favorite. The four of us stood in silence as we listened to the beautiful music being played. Jasper and I lingered for a handful of seconds, and then started to back out of the room, along with Esme and Carlyle. "Do you like it?" I heard Edward ask quietly. "You wrote this?" she asked with a small gasp. "It's Esme's favorite," he murmured as he continued. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I'm feeling extremely insignificant," she murmured. And then the song he was playing changed immediately. It was the song I had helped him with weeks ago. I turned then and started up the stairs to give them some privacy that was well deserved now. Light footsteps followed behind me, and I slowed as Jasper's arms wrapped around my waist. I sighed as we continued up the stairs. We walked to our room, and he shut the door silently behind us. I looked at him and smiled. "Thank you for doing that for me," I said, as I wrapped my arms around his neck. "It was worth it," he said with a chuckle. "She really loves him, just as much as he loves her," he noted. "Yes, very unique, the two of them." "I don't know how he does it, but he pulls through," he said, and I knew what he meant. Her scent had my throat burning, just thinking about it. The best scent I had smelled in a long time. It's love, Jasper. It hurts to harm the one you love. So he finds the strength, I murmured. Only love,